Welcome to Hot Springs Village Inside Out, a weekly podcast where Hot Springs Village, Arkansas is the star. Join me, Randy Cantrell, and my co-host Dennis Simpson as we discuss the history, facts, people, places, events, lots more surrounding Hot Springs Village, Arkansas. Visit the website at hotspringsvillageinsideout.com.
Hello again for Hot Springs Village Inside Out. It's Dennis Simpson and
Randy Cantrell.
Calling from, where are you today, Randy?
I'm in Bedford, Texas, actually. I'm in the mid-cities. As we say here, I'm in the affordable side of the Metroplex. Parent County. That's where I'm at.
I used to live in Little Rock, and I told people, I said, you know, when you're coming in on 430 and you look up on that ridge and there's that gorgeous ridge with all those $1 million houses on the left, and they go, yeah. I said, I lived on the right. Yeah. I was over on that side. Yeah. I had the same view, but it wasn't that $1 million house.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly
Bedford, huh? Greater Bedford?
I'm sorry?
Greater Bedford?
Well, I don't know about that. Listen, I've been here 30 some odd years, so it's pretty great. It is not Hot Springs Village. So
well, let's talk about Hot Springs Village as we do, the star of the show today. I had a rare event this last Friday that I haven't shared with you, Randy, and I wanted to share because I think it. Remember when we had Greg on just last week? I think it was.
Yep.
And Greg was talking about
Greg Jones. He's talking about, for those of you that are listening, he's really notorious for throwing out first names because he knows these people so well, and he assumes that all the rest of us do too.
He
Greg
really
Jones is who he's talking about.
Greg Jones from the Explorer Lakeside Group. And we've had some suggestions, and I agree with this, that we need to visit other restaurateurs, and Jim and Andrea are going to be with us this next week, or 2 weeks, I should say, that have the Home Plate Cafe. They also have 4 Airbnbs all over the United States. They've got 1 in Gatlinburg and 3 down on the coast. Eager to hear their stories. This ought to be very interesting.
Yep.
But anyway, Greg Jones, I should have been more specific. Greg Jones from the restaurant group was telling us last week, he didn't use these words, but it sounded like to me, Randy, there was basically like a upward sucking sensation of lower level employees that are being sucked up into a higher level simply because the pay scale is going back up, you know?
Well, just a mere shortage of workers. And that's true here, by the way. I mean, in a market with over 7 million people, everybody is looking for people. So all you got to do is filter that down to a less metropolitan area like Hot Springs Village, and you can imagine. So
yeah, well, and Greg was talking about, and
it's not just Greg's business, by the way. It's every business, and even every food and beverage restaurateur is having the exact same problem that Greg's having, so it's not unique to his business.
Well, it's even more of a funnel than that, Randy, and that's what I wanted to talk about this episode today, and I've even springing it on you. My sister and brother-in-law showed up here the other day. He has a big long truck and a flatbed trailer, and we had old hot tubs that didn't work. We had old couches that had broke. We had furniture. We had remember the old Sony used to make these behemoth TV stands that were silver and glass and everything. And we remodeled and changed a lot of that. So I had a lot of stuff to go to the dump. I mean, I had a lot of stuff. Some of it I would have thought, yeah, you know, restore, Salvation Army kind of thing, you know, and some of it just, you know, should go to I had brand new flooring that was brand new in the box, never opened. $1,000 circular table with beautiful laminate on it and whatever, really, really nice stuff. So Tammy and David piled me up and I, you know, because if I'm going to the dump, I've got to show my driver's license. And but first, I'm going to go to the restore, and I'm going to mention names here, or places or names, because the truth, nobody's harmed. I pulled up and they went, "Wow, this is some really good stuff, but you know, we'd have to cherry pick this, and we're really kind of full right now, and we've got a lot of good stuff, and we're going to say no." I'm like, the restorer is saying no to brand new building materials? Okay, well, what do you say? Go on down to Salvation Army. Go on down to the Salvation Army, and they'll probably take that for you. I go to the Salvation Army. Now, if you know anything about the Village Restore, it's a large building right beside the retail type building. Yeah, right beside, huge. Yeah, it is. It's huge. Right beside the bowling alley. Hot Springs Village has a bowling alley, which I'll get Bob and Jones, and we'll talk about that too. But I go back down to Salvation Army, I pull up. The lady comes out and goes, "Oh yeah, we're just really tight on space. You got some good stuff, but I'd have to cherry pick it. And I don't want to have to cherry pick." I said, "Don't tell me, let me guess. You don't want to cherry pick it." But Teen Challenge. Are you familiar with them, Randy?
I'm not.
Fantastic. We really need somebody on from Teen Challenge. Fantastic organization. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to run to lunch and then I'll go on. So zip on down to Teen Challenge, get down to the bottom of the hill, as we call it. And by the way, there's Teen Challenge is pseudo associated with the Assembly of God of America.
Okay.
And I'll tell you that story in just 10 seconds.
It's a charitable group, I assume.
Yeah, a charitable group, but Teen Challenge, and they now say Teen and Adult Challenge, is basically a drug rehab program that you can go to as a volunteer if the judge sentences you to something, you can go to this and work it off or whatever. So they have they got campuses where men and women live on site. It's faith-based. It's an incredible organization. And as you can imagine, they're not making money hand over fist. So, having a thrift shop really helps them, right? They've got a brand new building, gorgeous. Pull up behind it. I think I sent you a picture of the creek right behind this place.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm like, well, there's like a national park. I pull up and they say, you got some nice stuff, but we really don't want to cherry pick it. I'm like, this is really sounding familiar,
Mm-hmm.
So I'm asking, I said, well, what are you doing? And they said, well, we're moving toward clothing and a little bit of furniture. And I said, I'm perplexed. I've lived here for a decade. And I've been around this area my whole life, and the people aren't taking anything. They said, we've had more donations of really good stuff.
Yeah.
So now we've got to sort through things. So remember this kind of suck up silo we're talking about?
Yep.
Things that might have been great salvage or great restore things. They don't even want them anymore, which was just mind blowing to me.
Well, a space constraint and a labor constraint to go and pick through it all.
Exactly. Now they did, bless their soul, they did take some of that stuff off my hands. And literally just down the street from there is a transfer station and an electronic waste recycling. Imagine me having electronic waste. They didn't want my printers. They didn't want old servers. Yeah. And luckily the new flooring and such, one of the guys was like, I'll take that off your hands, So let's do the byline. Remember how we've had the 1 hour tour where you could get to and around in the history and the Hot Springs Opera and all that. I'm believing it was going to be 1912. I'm believing it was. There was a brush arbor meeting just outside of what we would now call Fountain Lake, Arkansas. It's just up from Fox Pass. And there's a large church camp there now. And the reason there's a large church camp there is because they were having this brush arbor meeting and people broke out in what they call speaking in tongues or charismatic speaking and Pentecostal, as they would use the term. This went on for several weeks. They had an incredible drawing coming. Many people came to the Lord. And they actually went down, they packed up their goodies and went down to the Hot Springs Opera right beside Rolando's we talked about, which was the big, beautiful wooden building. And they formulated the Assemblies of God Churches of America right there on that spot.
Did not know that.
And I'll tell you what, when you walk down Hot Springs, you'll see a little brass plaque in the floor and the sidewalk.
Mm-hmm.
One right there in front of what the parking deck is, and used to be the opera. And the one a block that's going to be south of there talks about where the temporary headquarters of Arkansas was when the Civil War was going on and Little Rock was invaded. And they moved all of the papers and all of the government of Little Rock to Hot Springs. Didn't know that either, did you?
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Yeah.
See, you learn something every day when you tune in here.
Every day. Well, every day when we have a show. Yeah.
Exactly.
Anyway, I wanted to just bring that up. It's very clear to me. It's a micro and a macro at the same time. We have employment issues this way, but at the same time, it's very clear to me that we're having a huge shift in the economy that, the structures that used to work aren't exactly working the same way anymore.
Well, no. And, a 20-year high in inflation, which I started my career when inflation was crazy insane, so I've seen it. But man, there are a lot of people on the planet, including my son, who is turning 41, that has not really seen anything quite like this. So, did you get rid of all your stuff?
I did. The gentleman at the transfer station, which I can't, we get this question a lot, so I hope I hit this hard. If you have electronic goods that you don't want to throw in the trash, which you shouldn't throw in the trash, take them down to the transfer station there at the corner of 7 and Fox Pass, basically. Really nice people, unload it for you, the whole 9 yards. And one of the questions I hate, Randy, and it's embarrassing. We used to, probably 10 years ago, we had a really nice recycling program here, and it was costing us around $150,000 a year, because it just did not pay for itself. We just didn't have the urban density. But if you want to collect bottles, if you want to read or metal or whatever, they have, what are these 18-wheel light sliders that come back up on the dump bed,
right.
They had one of those like chest high in bottles and glass and whatever. So we do have some recycling. You just have to drive down to that station to do it. And then, you know what? I really need to go ahead and tell the rest of the story, Randy. Here in Hot Springs, in Garland County, I drove back. Tammy and David filled up the load with just junk, literally old hot tubs and plastic and stuff that unfortunately has to go to the landfill. Drove back down. They close at 3:30. The landfill closes at 3:30. That's so they can finish wrapping up and put a coat of dirt on it and everything by 4:30. I got there. The reason Tammy and David wanted me to go there, which they live in Saline County, they could have taken this with them to Saline County. It's nearly 50% more. I dropped off 1,080 pounds of trash, and I think it was $13. And Tammy and David said it would be, that in particular instance would have been nearly 25. Leave it to Hot Springs. It's built in a beautiful place. It's surrounded by national forest. It's got a big lake up front when you drive in, and it's the dump, for all intents and purposes. Really great people, really great staff. Once again, they unload your stuff. Randy.
And this is how far from the village?
It's maybe 20 minutes. It's a Cedar Glade area. And right beside that, there is a hiking trail and biking trail that's something like 25 miles that goes around the water treatment system. Beautiful trail system, beautiful everything, wonderful area. But there's a tiny confession I need to make, Randy. Of all the things I am capable of, if you put it in air quotes, talent, there's one thing that it just doesn't come to me, Randy. I am not a great trailer backer upper person. That's just all there is to it.
Yeah.
I'm just not that guy.
I'm right there with you.
Yeah. It's, you go this way when it goes that, what?
Well, you kind of have to do it a little bit more than I do it to be probably proficient at it.
More than once a year or something like me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, more than once I have pulled up at the dump and they've seen me struggling, go, hop out. We'll back your truck up for you.
Now, if you're an owner, if you're in Hot Springs Village and you've got a bunch of stuff like that you need to do, but you don't have a truck or anything, are there services or
There are services that do that. And actually, I need to be very specific. I just needed, it was my basement and some other my properties I needed. I could pull this all up, grab it up to the street, put a special tag on it, and have the POA pick it up on special trash pickup days, beds, TVs, that kind of stuff. And they will do that. But I had just, I just knew I had a huge load of a lot of stuff to get rid of. And so, yes, there are companies.
Yeah, well, when it's over 1,000 pounds, you've got a little bit of stuff.
I had a little bit. That was me in the trailer. And then when I dumped everything else out and, it went from big pictures to enormous pieces of glass that we had changed out mirrors. I guess you would even call it was construction waste. Yeah. And the fine folks at the POA typically try and stay away from construction waste. So
Sure. Understandably so. So the good news is all these places that are crowded and they don't have room, now you've got more room because you got rid of all your junk.
Come on down. I can buy more junk now at the estate sales.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Very good.
Anyway, well, for this
that was a happy Friday.
I think it was a happy Friday. It was a good Friday. I came home with a sense of accomplishment.
Yeah, well, good for you. All right,
so now, Randy, we have an episode about Dennis's trip to the dump.
Yeah, there you go. That'll be a headline. That'll be clickbait for everybody. Fun for the whole family.
Honestly, I want to make a note. Number one, Randy, thank you sincerely for helping do this and for doing this with me. I wouldn't be here without you. I sincerely appreciate you in every way. And our listeners, Randy, we're approaching 1,000 people on Facebook.
Yeah, in our group. And all you got to do is go to the website, hsvinsideout.com. And up in the navigation, you'll see a Facebook icon. When you click on that, it takes you to the group. This is a public group, so we let you in, and we'll let you stay there as long as you behave yourself.
Well, and
does
behave.
But everybody behaves.
You know what? No telling. Really, honestly, there are probably 5 groups in the village like that. And I got to tell you, I think we have some of the nicest people. People don't smack or talk or be mad, nasty or whatever. It's really, really nice people. And we sincerely appreciate our listeners. We really do. Thanks so much. For Hot Springs Village Inside Out, I'm Dennis Simpson.
I'm Randy Cantrell.
And we'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Hot Springs Village Inside Out, a podcast where Hot Springs Village, Arkansas is the star. Please subscribe to the podcast. You can do that by visiting our website, hsvinsideout.com, and tell a friend.